Hi, folks. Larry Rolla here. We got our pals on here. We got the long lost Freddie Hudson is back. Freddie
Hi,
Hudson.
everyone.
Freddie moved, and he has yet to get Verizon to come in. They're supposed to come in on the 4th, and they keep postponing it. So he don't have his computer. You don't have. He's on his phone. So, but he might. It might cut out. But if he does cut out, uh, that's because you don't have.
They're scheduled to come in now on the 18th. So,
All right. Yeah, because it's we hear it like every other word, so it's all screwed up. And anyway, here's Trade. Hi, Trade.
Hey, how you doing, Larry? All right, Freddie, how are you?
All right.
All right.
What we're gonna do tonight is a lot of people through the weeks asked what happened last week. All during this week, they all what happened with the jockeys? How come they canceled the races? And what Fred and Trade did on their show, they interviewed one of the big owners of thoroughbreds,
Sandy Goldfarb.
Sandy Goldfarb. Yeah, and the guy we all know because I believe he started off with the standardbreds, and for a while
Yes.
He had a bunch of standardbreds, and then he went over to the thoroughbred, and he's a pretty. I think he owns something like 30, 40 horses, and he's a heavyweight in that game, and it happens to be a real good guy. And he Trade.
And he's still involved in the standardbreds. He's got horses with John Tilden, his partnerships there, and the Antonaccis.
So we have the interview. It's I think it's 12 or 13 minutes long. We're going to play that in its entirety, and then after that, after we play that, I'm stalling a little bit because there's a chance that we sent Sandy a link, and there's a chance he might come on. So I'm kind of stalling a little bit, but we're going to play that in its entirety, and then I'll have some comments after that's done, and then we'll talk amongst ourselves, and we'll answer a few questions. But there's one thing I got to do before we go on. This guy here, Elwood Blues, he says, "Bring back Jimmy. Are you going to delete my comment again?" I don't delete any comments. If I don't answer, it's because I get so wrapped up in the guests that are on, my friends that are on, and Freddie just his phone must have screwed up. I get so so wrapped up, and I don't always look at all the comments, and I know that I should. I know that I should look at the comments and answer all the questions, but I got to try to make a better effort because you're right. I don't do it. As far as Jimmy coming back, Jimmy's gonna. I don't know how to say this, but Jimmy is more. What this podcast turned out to be is 99% about horse racing and harness. Jimmy was very, very important for me in the beginning because my partner in this thing was the actor Frankie Vincent, and when he passed away, I needed somebody because I never did this before, and I needed somebody that knew that life because we were going to talk about my life story and how it was in the beginning and even during my life in the horse business, and Jimmy was brought up with the people that I was involved with at the time, and he could fill in a lot of the blanks, and he was involved in that life. In fact, when he come on the show, he just got out of jail. He was in jail for 7 years. He ran all the unions in New Jersey, and he was the perfect guest at the time for what we were doing. we talked as much as we could about the book, I wanted to end the podcast, and then there were a lot of friends of mine, all from the horse business, told me to keep it going, and Jimmy has no. He's not a horse guy. He's not a horseman. He don't go to racetrack. He had nothing in common with anything we were talking about. So I just says, I'll just bring on a couple of guests, and I didn't plan on this podcast after 15 or 20 of them. I never thought it would reach 200, but I reached 200 because we started talking about horses. And people that I have on, I haven't seen in 30, 40, some of them 50 years. And so we just keep it going and everything. But Jimmy is, I'm going to have Jimmy come on one day to talk about his father, because a couple of weeks ago, we played that thing that his father wrote that Trade Martin put together. And I'll have Jimmy back on. But Jimmy is going to be a part of the movie that about my life story. And in fact, Jimmy don't even know this yet, but I'm doing a little 5-minute video synopsis about my story, about my life, about the movie and the TV series that we're putting together. And right after the holidays, I'm going to do a 5-minute video
Trailer.
One particular scene in there, and I'm just going to have all regular street guys from the neighborhood, no actors, no nothing. The actors will come in when we actually do the movie and the TV show, but just for this, we're going to get just regular street guys, whether it be mobsters or regular street guys. The biggest problem I'm having is I got to get somebody to play me, because this particular thing happened in 1972. The scene that I'm gonna tape, and it's gonna be done professionally. I mean, it's gonna be done by a professional guy, 3-4 cameras, plenty of lights, and so the video will be perfect. The voice, everything will be top notch. And in case we screw up, which I'm sure we will, it'll be edited. So the finished product will be good. Jimmy's going to be a part in there. So that's it. That's why Jimmy hasn't been on, only because I don't want him to sit next to me and just sit there like a bump on a log, because he knows nothing about what we're talking about. So to answer your question, that's why we don't have him on, and I don't delete any comments. I just half the time I don't look. Okay, Freddie, you're back. Okay, Freddie's back.
Yeah.
Why don't we play?
If I fade out again, I don't have any control over it. So.
Yeah, no, I know, because sometimes you freeze and you feel okay. All right, so what we're going to do now is, for all you guys that are listening, I'm going to play the interview. It's 13 minutes long, that Freddie and Trade had with Sandy Goldfarb, an owner of Thoroughbreds, and he will explain why the jockeys walked off and the races were canceled at Aqueduct. After that, I have a couple of comments that I want to make, and then we will talk about, we will answer some of the questions in the comments. And before I play that, David Arthur just put in, I thought Ron Pierce was coming on tonight. Ron Pierce is coming on tomorrow, next Thursday, the 18th. Ron Pierce, you're going to have to tune in for that show. It's going to be a very, very rare appearance by Ron Pierce, the Hall of Famer, who's going to be on with another Hall of Famer, Billy O'Donnell, and Greg will be on, and it's going to be a very, very interesting show. So make sure that you and this was a last minute switch, so I apologize for that. So anyway, we'll get back to the comments we'll get back to the comments in a little while. In the meantime, I'm going to now play the interview that Trade Martin and Freddie Hudson had with Sandy Goldfarb about the jockeys walking off. So here it is. It's 13 minutes. So hang in there, listen to it. A lot of your questions will be answered, and then we'll have some comments about it. We'll talk, and then we'll answer some. We'll go down the list of all the comments. So here goes.
Joining us this week is the former Standardbred owner and current Thoroughbred owner, also the founder of or co-founder of the Unbridled Foundation, Mr. Sandy Goldfarb. Sandy, welcome to the Harness Racing Alumni Show.
Thanks, Fred. Great to be here.
Sandy, before we start, tell us a little bit about your background going from Standardbreds to the Thoroughbreds.
I got started in the Standardbreds in the mid-70s. I owned my first horse. My next door neighbors owned the Bunny stables of BG's Bunny, and I got involved at a very young age at Monticello as well. I was going to the aqueduct in Belmont throughout my high school years, and I probably owned my first horse right around 1976 at Roosevelt, and I started, I believe it was Paul Appel and Ronnie Durfine were my first trainers, and then had some with Nick Sedano, Perry Steinko, and then I was with Brett Kelly for many, many years, and won the first two legs of the Triple Crown with Brett with Shady Character. And
nice horse there.
yeah, he was a nice horse, and when I got that done, I was always interested in the thoroughbreds, but it was always a little bit more complex. They raced less, a lot more expensive game. And I got involved with, I was introduced to Rick Dutrow in the early 90s, and I started with Rick, and we just clicked, and we got, we went from 1 or 2 horses to 40, like inside of a year. And then I worked on the New York Mercantile Exchange on Wall Street, and once I had all these horses by myself, the next thing you know, a lot of guys on the trading floor wanted to get involved, and we started doing a bunch of multiple partnerships, and then it just rolled, and we just had a great run and had a lot of fun. And still doing it.
Well, recently you've made headlines. Last week, when the jockeys at Aqueduct, they refused to race over the assistant skill manager, is that the proper term? Where
the assistant clerk of scales, yes.
Okay, where he resigned due to him being added some extra duties, and from what I've read, it was like he had to write down the weight stuff you had to write the weights down as an extra assignment, and the jockeys for some reason decided to boycott and not to race. Yeah, my first question on that is, why would the jockeys even care, let alone refuse to race? It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm on the New York Thoroughbred Owners Board, and my friends are on the NYRA board. And without getting into too many of the details, because I guess there are investigations going on, it was a situation where he wasn't fired or he didn't quit. He didn't want to do it. He's a clocker, and he was doing assistant clerk of scales, which is a conflict of interest to begin with, in my opinion. And he was asked to write down the weights because it's an electronic scale, but Aqueduct's probably the only track in North America that doesn't have a camera on the scales, which is now being installed. So they decided not to ride after the first race, which they had beefs with management on some other issues. I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but no matter what it was, no matter what the issues were, and they're supposedly going back quite a bit, you don't do that because you're not hurting the management because they're getting their paychecks no matter what. Okay? And the fact that management didn't have anybody with qualifications to diffuse the situation in almost an hour's time is mind-boggling to begin with. No one had the skill set to diffuse the situation. And many of the people in management don't even live in the state that work for NYRA, which is another situation that we're dealing with that has to be straightened out. But aside from that, the jockeys, okay, hurt the fans, hurt the trainers, hurt the owners, and they didn't care because they're getting on these horses when they get in again, when they race on Wednesday, when they have the extra day, and they're making their money. So they hurt the people that shouldn't have been hurt, and the people that they have the beef with are not hurt whatsoever. So that's why I went there to tell these guys, who are my friends, that, you know, they were wrong. And I have to say, I've gotten hundreds of texts and stuff on social media from people I don't even know, from horsemen, from Brits, agreeing with. One person in particular, I'll leave nameless, who, you know, sided with the jockeys. Other people who sided with the jockeys now remain silent on the issue. But I can tell you one thing. If the big boss, like the Dolphins and all the big syndicates, had horses in that day, they wouldn't have dared to walk out on them that day. Okay? So, you know, and the trainers all called me and texted me, thank you for this, scared to open their mouth. Thank you for sticking up for us. I mean, the trainers,
I'm in the middle of a
part that
podcast,
really
I
got
can't
people
talk.
was they doubled down after and said they are the show. Or at least one of the jocks said that in the
Right.
New York Post.
I read that.
Okay? And for him to say that, okay, when these trainers live 24/7, okay, their families pay the price, they don't get to go on vacation, while the track's closed, the jockeys are on vacation, they're going to ride wherever they want. That's what really lit a fire under people, okay? And when a trainer makes a mistake, or there's an overage, or there's a positive, or there's a violation, they get suspended and fined. And they want to see these guys have the same punishment.
You're correct. They should have been fined
Years
or
ago,
given
yes, and years ago, when it happened, if this was the old NYRA board, you know what they were told these guys? Pack your bags and don't come back.
Yep.
Okay, but you know, it's a different breed.
Because, you know, I could understand it if they said it was unsafe to race, but there's no safety.
That wasn't the,
And this is just
that would have never been a problem.
This is just a personal FU to the management, in my opinion. So,
Exactly. And I'm not saying they're wrong. They don't have their points. I'm not saying that at all. But to act the way they acted, if a Johnny Velazquez or Javier Castellano was in the room, it never would have went down. Never.
right. And I couldn't see other jockeys like we're going back years ago, like Angel Cordero, or you know, certain other jockeys going along with this. I just don't see that happening. So, but I think that it was kind of ridiculous. Is the commission going to do anything with them? Are they going to get any type of suspension, any type of fine?
Well, you know, so far crickets from the management, absolute crickets. And it's not going to die because we're not going to let it die on the boards. Okay, they got to be held accountable. Okay, bottom line.
And you know, it basically says, and you know, both our sports are in a situation where we need all the fans that we can have. And
we borrowed almost $500,000 from the state to open a beautiful new facility that is the state of the art, be the nicest track in the country, you know, maybe the world. But we're opening in September, okay? And this is not what we need.
Correct. And the state is looking, and you have every single person attacking horse racing. Every angle you can imagine. And we really need to be putting up like a very positive spin on the whole sport. So, yeah, this sport is in a difficult spot. The guys are rules, and they do what they want, and they're not necessarily doing what's best for the horses. I mean, I would say the game has changed for me. I don't even look at the low-level horses anymore because once you get on their list in New York, you're a target. It's almost impossible to get them off. And it's the game's changed. Game's changed for me. I'm just in it. We're just having a good time, having some fun, you know. But I look at things a lot differently. Okay, so I'm going to go more on the positive side now. So, how many horses do you currently have?
Probably around 30, 35. Give it, every week it changes. They're claiming them. I'm claiming them. I lose them. I get them. It's hard to keep a horse. Horse flesh is at a premium. As you know, from back when I started in the 70s, I think thoroughbreds used to breed between 45 and 50,000. I think now it's around 15 or maybe even 13. So if you take those numbers, we're breeding a third of what we used to. We've got way more tracks open year round. When back in the day, Naira used to race from April 1st to October 31st, closed for the winter, go to Florida. So there's just an attrition of horses, and now they breed for speed as opposed to stamina. Back then they bred for distance. Now they breed for stamina. So these horses go. Back then, 2-year-olds hardly race. Now they race like crazy. The purse is ridiculous. So they're not given a chance to mature. It's hard to keep a horse. You could race a horse in a 50 climber. You put them in the sale, they might sell for 75 or 100.
Now, do you still have anything to do with any standardbreds at all?
I don't. My brother is involved a little bit. I don't have him for a while, but I have a bunch of friends that are still in it. I miss it. I used to go down on Saturday mornings, Roosevelt, Yonkers, Meadowlands, train my own. I used to race in amateur races and the Battle of the Horses at Foxborough, at Yonkers, at Monticello. I really enjoyed it. I miss it, but I just don't have time. I have a lot of kids and grandkids and a lot of thoroughbreds to manage. So
it's a little bit different because as an owner, you can have more hands-on with the standardbreds than you can with the thoroughbreds. But like you just said, you could race your own horses. You could you could get your driver, and we've had amateur drivers win the Hamiltonian. So, yeah. I mean, I loved it. I used to love just getting and training them in the mornings. It was a thrill. I miss that. I miss Roosevelt. I live right near. I could walk. Roosevelt was probably the best. It is heyday.
Roosevelt,
was the best.
And Monticello in the summers was back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s was great.
I raced up there, and Monticello was a lot of fun out during the summertime up there. They did a very good show, and I remember when they brought in the Race for the Gold, the OTB Classic. Silk Stockton and
a lot of great horses, a lot of great babies started up there too. Yeah, and it was, I brought Walter Case when he was 16, I believe he was, from Maine. He used to win 2 or 3 a day for me on the weekends up there with Ronnie Gerfine.
Yeah, and Ronnie just passed away recently. Ronnie's a great friend. He has actually been on the show a couple of times, and he was like, one of our big supporters going back, from a couple of years ago. So, but anyhow, I think we've covered the message that you wanted to get out, and so I'm going to close the show out. I just want to really thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your business.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right.
Never get tired of talking horses.
All right. Always a pleasure.
Okay, that was Trade and Freddie show interviewing Sandy Goldfarb. Now I'll give you my opinion, and this is just my opinion. First, I'll start with Sandy Goldfarb. Sandy Goldfarb's a great guy, and it's going to be a shame if he leaves the racing business. He's been a supporter of the racing business, a great owner, one of these guys that pays their bills, does everything right, and then something like this has to stir him up. And everything that he said, and he probably could have said a whole lot more, but whatever he said was, I agree with him 100%. What people have to understand, especially people in the racehorse business, whether it be either division of racing, standardbreds or thoroughbreds, they have to understand that unlike that jockey said that they're the show. They gotta remember two things. The first thing was, and I applauded this at the time, and it happened in 1981 when President Reagan got rid of all the traffic controllers, 11,000 of them. He says, you're fired. You don't want to come back, you're fired. These jockeys and harness drivers, they have to understand that they're not the show, that the horse is the show. And unfortunately, there's very, very few people, a couple of organizations that speak up for the horse. Well, I'm going to be one of them. In a very short period of time, I'm going to come out with something and I'll talk more about it. But without the horses, they'd be no. Look, you can have all the trainers in the world, you can have all the jockeys in the world, you can have all the drivers in the world, but without the horse, there's no business. And that's just the way it is. The second in line, in my opinion, is the owner, like Sandy Goldfarb. Because if there were horses and there were no owners, what are the trainers going to train? Their dogs, and who are the jockeys or drivers going to ride or drive? So it's said that the two things that are on the top of my list anyway, that people should cater to and pay attention to and fully respect is the first is the horse, especially because he can't speak for himself. The horse can't speak for himself. And the most respect the horse gets is the morning of the race when a veterinarian comes to the barn and has him trot up and down the shed row, and if he looks all right, they let him race. That's it. The horse can't say, I got a headache, I got a stomach ache, I got none of that matters. The horse can't speak for himself, and that's probably why Heisa, and what Sandy said is true, and some of their rules and regulations are not what the horsemen like, and maybe don't really help a horse, and some hurt a horse. But they get little by little, they're getting that straightened out. They're straightening it out. But and that's good, because, like I said, nobody speaks for the horse. Then you got to worry about the owner, because without owners, there'd be no trainers and there'd be no jockeys or drivers, and they just forget about that. And I really believe that these jockeys. Let me tell you something. If the commission or the racetrack or whoever is in charge told these jockeys that walked out that day, get off the grounds, you're never going to ride here again, or you're suspended from here for 60 days or a year. Believe me, there's maybe 4,000 or 5,000 jockeys in the country. They'd be 1,000 jockeys coming from all these tracks, and some just as competent as the ones that you throw out. They'd be there the next day to ride whatever horses, because, like Sandy says and like Freddie says, they can't go without being reprimanded or paying some kind of penalty. It was none of their business. Not only that, but it was a situation that, like Freddie said, it wasn't a bad track or bad weather or something that was warranted. It was a bullshit thing that they could have straightened out behind closed doors very, very easily. But sometimes, and I mentioned this a lot of times in all my podcasts, sometimes you get to a point in life where you think, who the fuck you are? And just remember that everybody could be replaced. Everybody could be replaced. Now, not to say that the jockeys or the drivers, they're fearless, they do a hell of a job, and they're extremely talented. But sometimes you just gotta know your position. If you wasn't that talented, you wouldn't be in that position. And you just got to know that without the horse, there'd be no business. Without the owners, there'd be no business. And without the trainers that put you on these horses, without the business. And you should realize, the jockeys and the drivers, that the trainers are the owners are the ones that put up all the money. The owners are the ones that in many cases lose a lot of money, yet they keep going, and the trainers are the ones that got to hope they get the stalls that they needed, hope they get a good blacksmith, hope they get a good veterinarian that could help them with along with the horses that you're training, hoping that the racetrack is good, hoping that they're good enough to know when to train, when not to train, when to give a horse off, when not to give a horse, hoping that they can have the ability to worry about compensation insurance, about payroll, about feed, about getting the right feed, and that's another problem, getting the right hay, getting the right straw, getting the right. That's all the trainer's responsibility. And then trying to create a level playing field with all the nonsense and bullshit that's going on with all of these drugs and all these synthesized drugs and everything. That's all the trainer's responsibility. And I said it a couple of times. I don't know if I want to back off on the statement now, but you race on hay and oats, you're not going to win many races. And that's just the fact. Now, maybe times have changed a little bit now since Heisa came into the picture, but that's it. But that's all the trainer's responsibility. A jockey's responsibility is his agent calls him and says, "Okay, you're riding 6 at Belmont today," and that's it. He's got to worry about getting there. That's it. Now, it's a dangerous game, and you got to give him a lot of props for doing that. I mean, it's not easy balancing yourself on a 1,200-pound horse going 40 miles an hour and bumping and everything else. So they deserve all the money they make. And in almost every case, a jockey makes 10 times more than a trainer makes in many cases. So they're the ones that are getting that are, as far as money goes, they're the ones that are making the most money. And it's a very, very risky business. There's probably, I think there's maybe over 1,000 jockeys through the years that got paralyzed. And it's a dangerous business. Same thing with standardbred, same thing with drivers. Drivers have the same thing. There's a couple of drivers that I know, top drivers, that I remember when they were first starting out, when they were grooms. Then all of a sudden they become a top guy, and all of a sudden they develop some kind of an attitude, like they forget when they were training horses, and they forget that fifth money sometimes is the difference between being able to eat or not eat, and they just come back, throw the lines at you, and say, "Don't put me on this thing anymore," instead of trying to help you. They just look. It's a dangerous game, but what I would have done in that case, if I had anything to say, I would hook up with Sandy and try to get them jockeys that walked off on that day, give them some kind of 60-day. Believe me, like I said, everybody could be replaced. And these guys racing at finger length, that jockey room would be filled within an hour after word got out that them jockeys can no longer ride there for maybe a year or whatever. And
Larry, one of the things that Sandy also said was that, I don't think he said it on the broadcast, but the jockeys, they're all going to be racing horses the next day. They'll have 5-6 mounts in, whatever. But those trainers and owners, the thoroughbreds only race like 7 starts a year, and they just basically screwed 80 owners out of racing.
Exactly. Yeah, they had no respect for the. Now, how would they like it if every one of them jockeys, if they were the trainer of them horses, you think they would have walked out? They wouldn't have walked out.
No, never.
It's just a bullshit power play with guys that really don't know that they are dispendable, that they could be replaced very, very easily, and that's what you have to let them know. Let them know that, look, your job is to ride horses and win with the horses. You have legitimate beasts. When the track is bad, Years ago, they didn't have that. Today, they have that power where they could just cancel, and everybody would stick up for them, including the owners and the trainers on a bad racetrack. They would get
Absolutely.
all the backing that they want. The bullshit that they pulled the other day was terrible. And if I had my say, I would give them a 60-day suspend. You can't ride here. And believe me, the saddles would be full. Believe me. So that's as much as I want to say about that. So I don't know if you guys have an opinion about that or if you want to talk about it. But Sandy's right, and I heard what Sandy said, that he's not going to let this thing go, and he should not. He should not let him go. Them jockeys, and they have to understand that what that one guy said, or maybe the group of them says, that we're the show. They are not the show. Because without the horse, there is no show. And without the owner, there is no show. And without the trainer, there is no show. So you'll last on a totem pole, and that's just know your place. And maybe a 6-month suspension, maybe you'll find that place. And pay attention to the horse. Pay attention to helping the trainer if there is a problem with the horse. And just be a nice guy. Just remember, it's nice to be nice. Don't be a fucking jerk off just because you're one of the top leading jockeys in the world. You have talent, and everybody gives you credit for the guts that you have and everything that you have, and you deserve everything but you have. But know your place, and that's it. Because I'll go on a fucking rant for another hour, so I'm not going to.
Listen, yeah, but I would want to find out who was the ringleader that started the idea that they should not race. There's got to be one guy that instigated this whole thing. I would want to know who that leader is.
They're all just like harness drivers. It's like everybody knows everybody. They ride against each other. Nobody's going to say it was this guy. Everybody's going to say, I don't know. I don't know if they'll find out. Whoever walked out is going to get suspended, in my opinion. I don't know if anything will ever happen. And I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing: you don't want to lose. You lose 2 or 3 Sandys, and that business is going to collapse. Just like you don't want to lose Sandy. You don't want to lose Sandy. He's a good guy. He's. You don't want to lose 2 or 3 of Sandy.
Listen, Larry, they're not going to lose Sandy. They're not going to lose anybody. They're going to take it on the chin, and they're going to shut up, and they're not going to say anything about this. Just like Sandy said, all they heard is crickets. They're not going to say anything. They're going to come back, and they're going to deal with going with what the jockeys are doing. They're not going to do anything about this. I hope they will, but I doubt it. That's my opinion.
Okay, let me go down this thing because I get yelled at every day. Elwood Blues yells at me, so I just answered his thing. Let me just go down real quick, and then we'll get back to talking whatever you want to talk about. Michael, good evening, gentlemen. He says good evening. Okay, David Arthur, good evening, people. Good evening, David. David Arthur, I thought Ronnie Pierce was on tonight. No, Ronnie Pierce and Billy O'Donnell and the crew will be here next Thursday. Don't miss it. It's gonna be something
Wild.
We're gonna try to get Ronnie to say more than 2 words. All right, Steven. Good evening, guys. Tuesday's show will be a hard act to follow. Marone and Santaramo were hysterical. Yeah. They were 2 guys, and they were 2 talented guys. Both of them could drive a horse good, but both of them were nuts. But you know what? You hear some of these stories. You hear the stories that they were in the business for a lot of years up there, and they're probably talking about a 7, 8, 9 year span. And all you heard was, I was broke. We were broke. We had no money to eat. That's what it's like. It's the smaller racetracks. That's what it's like. That's why it was so easy for me to do what I had to do. Not only me, but plenty of other people. And if you think that Monticello, where I was the only track where I did what I did. Look, I did what I did to save my life. That's no excuse. I did what I did. but there's 50, 60 other racetracks around the country, and the same shit's going on because people have to eat, and it's sad that they can't figure out a way how to. Do you know that up until not recently, probably when I was still at Monticello, grooms, it was my talking with Charles Slutsky that made him build that groom building. I says, Charles, do you realize where these grooms are sleeping? And some families are sleeping in tack rooms. Tack rooms. No heat, no nothing. Cement floors, penniless. $800 purses. Just think an $800 purse and you're training 2-3 horses and the purse is $800. If you win, you get $400. That's if you win. Then it gets cut in half all the way down to 5th place. It's a joke. And then they wonder why bad things happen at these racetracks. And the people on the front side, most of them are on 2 or 3 pensions. Most of them have houses in the Hamptons and Florida and every place else. And most of the judges that judge that are handing out these fines that people to trainers and drivers that have no money, they're too on second pensions. They're too are political appointees from other jobs. It's a joke. And sometimes instead of why don't you somebody understand the plight that these poor guys racing at these small racetracks, what they go through. Not only that, but then it's strength. There's a lot of guys like myself that I was eating pigeons so the horses could have hay and oats. Okay, but there's some guys that don't, and there's some guys, and I'm not going to name them, but that these horses that should weigh 1,000 pounds, like maybe 900 pounds, and the guy, look, the guys in the business and the guys are at these small tracks, and all the horsemen are listening. No, everything I'm saying is true. So why don't the front end, or why don't the commissions, or why don't somebody, and I don't know who, say, look, we got to give these guys a living wage. Everybody's talking about today minimum wage. In the meantime, the states are making so much money from racetracks and have been, and nobody cares about the horses. Nobody cares about the small trainer that's at these smaller racetracks. Nobody cares. You know, there was a motion picture out once, and I never go to movies, and I'm not sure, but there was a picture out once about, it was just starred Joe Pesci. That's the only reason I know about it, because Alfred's a stand-in, and he tells me. But there was a picture where I think Joe Pesci was the landlord of a slum buildings, and they made him as punishment live in the same apartments that all his people had to live in. And when he was a slumlord, he refused to fix the heat. He refused to fix these people like that right now. Well, how do you think these horses are? How do you think these horses are that? And they can't bust out. They're in a 10 by 10 stall. Some of them, you go to some of these small racetracks, they're on dirt. They're lucky if they get fed. It's just, I don't want to go on and on because it's very, very, very depressing. And all I'm saying is that just like everybody, all these organizations fight for minimum wage and fight for these trucks that go around and feed the needy and all of that. And that's great. Why don't they do it for some of the trainers and some of the grooms that are at the racetrack that are put on the show for everybody else? And I have to shut up because I'm gonna start saying things I don't want to say. So anyway, let's go down the list here. David Arthur, Steve, yes, that was a great show. Yep. But then again, you heard them guys every time, and that's why it was so easy for me to do what I wanted to do back then. and that goes on all around the country, all around the world. It goes on.
Well, listen, somebody's got to organize a groom union and or both of them a trainers union.
That'll never happen.
I know that'll never happen. So then what you're saying will never happen, Larry. I mean, there's nobody to represent them. So
no, you're right, but it'll never happen. See what Steve here, Eric says, Steve, robbing the poor candy guy. And somebody has a comment here that it was disgraceful. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. Steve, robbing poor candy vendor was not only hysterical, but it was pathetic and juvenile. Yeah, but that's exactly true. But that's what happens when you're dedicated to the horse business. You're fanatical about the horse business. That's the only thing you know. But you're starving to death. You got to eat candy bars. They robbed the candy bars and resold them or fed. You know, that's it. It's a pathetical sight. It's a pathetical sight. And that's the way it is. That they told stories that lasted 5, 6, 7 years. I was up there, but I was the one driving the Cadillacs. And I was the one that I'm not proud of what I did. I did what I did only because I saved my life and I was forced into that position. I'm not going to get into that story, but I did whatever I had to do to save my life. But while I was saving my life, did I cross the line? Absolutely. Did I help a lot of people during that time? We lost Freddie. Did I help a lot of people? Yes, I did. There were a lot of families that were able to buy trailers, were able to buy cars, were able to feed their kids, were able to do a lot of stuff because of the money that I gave them, even when they had no shot. I just pieced them off. Maybe it was only 300, maybe it was only 400. Just make sure you finish back. They were going to finish back anyway. But it wasn't hard before you had 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guys coming to my barn every day. I got this horse, and just because they were starving. Good people, good honest people that weren't thieves. They weren't nothing. They were just hungry, and they just had a family to feed and support. And that's it. And you heard from 2 guys yesterday. Now, if you notice that in all these podcasts, I did over 200 podcasts. The only things I mentioned about my life was what I did. I never mentioned the name. Never mentioned one name of one harness trainer or one harness driver unless I had their permission. And that only happened 2 times. And the third one was last week when Roy Marone mentioned that I gave him $3,000. That story that he told. But I never talked about it. And you heard what he said, that 3,000 was like 3 zillion. And that's what it was for a lot of people up there. And maybe if they had horsemen's associations at these smaller racetracks that went to management and says, listen, you're going to have to do something. Whatever you're going to have to do, you're going to have to do something to raise the purses, pay everybody in the race, no matter where they finish, give them something. Because if you have the 8 or 9 hole, if you have a horse that just is in tough, or you drew bad or whatever, you got to pay. You got to pay somebody to take the paddock unless you take it yourself. You know, the expenses don't go away, but you don't make any money. And if you scratch the horse and you scratch him for no reason, you're gonna get penalized. And if you do it more than once or twice, you're gonna get the stalls taken away from you. So it would be nice if the Horsemen's Association, instead of sitting in the race office and collecting a salary, why don't you get together with management and say, look, we got to do something to help these kids. The grooms buildings, there's more trainers living in the grooms building than grooms. But nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody even talks about it. And I don't know how it is today. I've been out of it a long time. But I know that when I was out of it, there were a couple of trainers. I don't want to mention any names. I said enough. Okay. David Arthur, so funny. David Arthur, audio isn't great. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. We lost Freddie. There's Freddie. Okay. Jesse Black.
Faded in and out, I can't help it.
Yeah, your voice. Yeah. Can everybody understand this? Can everybody understand this interview? I think he's being sarcastic. It ain't an interview. It's me running my mouth again. Okay, David. No, Jesse, I can't.
The sound was garbled.
Huh?
The sound was garbled on your show, but it's not on our show. Our show sounds okay, but it came through garbled on your show, Larry. For some reason,
you mean the video, the audio I played?
Yeah, the audio. Yeah, you played. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It was emailed to me, and I put it up just the way it emailed to me. I don't know how to.
But what are you playing it through? What are you playing?
I have no idea. You sent me the email, and I just played it. I just played the email.
Yeah, but I mean, what? You're playing it through something? Was it playing?
The email came to me. I hit the attachment thing, whatever. It was an arrow. I hit the arrow and it played. And
okay.
I don't know anything about that stuff anyway.
All right, it was just going direct then. I thought maybe it was playing in your studio and it was picking up on your mic. I have no
idea. I
All right.
know. Okay, David Arthur, every other word maybe. I think that's Freddie. Freddie's. Good evening, Larry and Trade. And Freddie's here too, Ronald. Okay, wait, what's this one? I was watching and playing horses that day. Thought the cancellation could have been the weather too. No, it wasn't. It was a stupid thing. Ronald, I shipped Sandy's horse, Shady Character, to Freehold in 1998 for Brett Pelling, where he won the cane pace, and then to the Little Brown Jug. Okay. Oh, here's our friend Eddie, the thoroughbred trainer. Ann called your invention is in the process. Okay, Ann called your invention is in the process moving well, plus their maintenance is fixing the training tracks, plus rules you keep a horse sound by trainers will change by March. Okay, so what he's saying there is that the thing that I created is moving along, is moving along well. It was introduced last week to HISA, and Ann is ahead of the safety part of HISA. And I was on the phone with her for a couple hours, probably 3 hours between me and Sal and her. And she said she was going to have a meeting, I think, every Wednesday. And so I guess Eddie called her today, and she says that it's in process, moving well. So that's good. Plus, she's making sure the maintenance track, the training track, is going to be fixed, and so that's all good. Eddie, you still have to find out if Eddie, you got to find out if that place across the street will test the cap. See if they would test it. You got to get back to me. Okay, okay, Eddie says the jockey's rep made the decision. Jockey's rep made that decision. Well, shame on him. Shame on him. That's all I have to say. I don't know who it is, but shame on him. And if he made the decision and he's the jockey's rep, you almost can't blame the jockeys for walking out, because if they're not going to have a rep if they don't respect them and don't listen to them. If they're not going to listen to them, you might as well not have a jockey rep. So if the jockey rep was the one that made the decision, shame on him.
That's the guy. That's the guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shame on him. Okay. John Higgins, question for trade. Were you related to Trish and Joe Martin? She was talented. She was a talented female trainer. Okay, trade. Go ahead.
No, I'm not. No, I don't even know them. But there is a Joe. I know there's a Joe Martin. He's on my page on Facebook, but I didn't know Trish. I know Joe from my page on Facebook, but I don't know Trish.
Okay, Trish is the girl that used to work for me. She's the one that Sundance on here. That's her
Oh yeah. Oh,
podcast name.
uh
Okay, Larry Cox says, Andrew, don't matter how tough you are, you can't beat your health. Go see a doctor. So he's talking to somebody. I don't know. Eddie, Sandy is a stand-up guy. I'm sure he's talking about Sandy Goldfarb.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. Sandy's a good guy. I have to. I'm going to call Sandy because I want to talk to him about a couple of things. So I think I'm gonna call him. I have his number.
Well, I think he'd be important with your new hood.
Well, not only that, but there's one or two other things that I want to talk to about, and I know that he was very, very helpful with a mutual friend of ours, and the mutual friend speaks very, very highly of him, and I'd like to have dinner with him. I'm going to give him a call.
Larry, he spoke very highly of you. He spoke very highly of you.
Well, he's a good guy. I got to give him a call. Okay, Larry will breeze next week. Okay, I'm waiting, just so you know, and also to fill you in. It's just happened today. The people from Apex called me up. They have the exact material I need for the blinkers, because now we're making our own blinkers that are going to be infused with this heat absorbing gel. So we don't have to worry about China. Everything, including the cups, are going to be made in the USA by me.
Right on. That's the way.
So
all right.
Trump is going to be very happy about that.
So that's it. I'd like to get Trump as a partner. But I'll tell you, I'll tell you, the guy that makes the gel, the scientist guy, he called me up with something very interesting. He says, "Are you going to be selling this anywhere in Europe or Asia or any place like that?" And I says, "Well, I says I would imagine. I says I have a big connection with a couple of them places, because we sold them the epoxic stalls." And I'm sure. And he was worried about. He says, "Well, I'd have to check, because the poly bags that these gels are going to be put into." He says they may not be biodegradable or whatever in foreign countries. And I says, don't even worry about that. But anyway, things are moving quite along with that. And then you know what? Anthony said something today, because every day I call up and I tell him if there's anything new. Anthony called up and he says, he says, how about this? How about you get everything done? You get all, send this, have the universities test it and get all the positive tests and everything, and then sell the whole thing. That's not a bad idea. Instead of me at my age putting together a whole factory that's going to eventually wind up making the only blinkers in the country, except for the two girls that make them in Kentucky, but they make them just as a favor. They make mostly jockey silks. That might be a bad idea. I got to talk to, the right person to talk to. That is Sal. Sal's Sal's got he's a notch above us, Freddie. So That's the guy that I got to talk to.
Well,
Okay,
that's the way to
let's see.
go, Larry. That's the way to go. You sell it, you take a percentage of the sales, and they're going to cheat you a little bit, but
Yeah.
you'll be
Yeah,
better
but
you'll be
you
better off.
know why that makes sense to me is because I'm not 40 years old. You know, I'm 84, and like the old joke. I don't even buy green bananas anymore. You know, where the hell you going at 84? You know, so by the time this whole thing gets done, so that's why I want to get it to a couple of universities. And get a letter from them saying that everything I say it does, and I'm sure that's the result I get. I mean, I put it through some crazy test. I mean, I put it in the middle of a big heating pad where the heating pad went up to 160 degrees within a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and where I placed this gel. It stayed cool. The temperature went up slowly. In other words, in 2 minutes, the temperature, this heating pad has a thing on it where it tells you how hot it is. It went up to 160 degrees within 2 minutes, and as soon as it reached 160 in 2 minutes, I took the gel off, and it was still 105 degrees, under the gel. And so it worked. It works really well, and I sleep with it. I tried all different kind of experiments, and even with the horses. And now I'm continuing this because I keep fooling with the gel a little bit. So anyway, that's it. Everything is going. It's going well. I just have to live long enough. That's all. Okay, David Arthur. I said that ages ago, Larry, sell the whole thing plus get a raw. Very good, David Arthur. Yeah. Well, Anthony told me that.
He's right.
That's good. Okay. Oh, Robert Ragland. Larry, it was announced yesterday. Torpedo Anna to be covered by Gunrunner in 2026. Hypothetical mating gives grade C plus in 2027 to be Anna covered by Curly. Why they match? I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I can't answer that. Okay, as far as silks, they need to evolve to 3D from boring 2D. Fashion change much needed in horse racing. Well, I was thinking of that when I was talking with Anthony today. I says, as long as I'm going to have a factory and it's all going to be computerized, and then we're going to have a bunch of sewing machines to sew a lot of these things together, why not do the silks and everything? And that's exactly what I was talking with Anthony about. And then Anthony says to me, Larry, you're 85 years old. Well, you're looking to start a business that a 20-year-old should start, because it's going to take a while to get this, and then to market, and then get it out there.
Right.
And that's when he said to me, he says, just put it all together and sell it. And maybe that's it. Yeah, instead of trying to put together a big company, I did it once. It took me 7 months. In 7 months, I built the largest custom furniture in Florida. It was bigger than all the ones in North Carolina and South Carolina, and in Florida, all custom furniture. I made it with acrylic stucco, leather, and stone. Stone, acrylic stucco to stone, and leather and wood. And so I'm sure I could do. I know I could do this. I look. If somebody comes to me and says, "You see that lot across the street? I want you to build a 6-story apartment building there and have it done by in 6 months." I'd say, okay. And you know what? It get done. So I believe in get done. I'm trying to do the same thing now with my move here. I was just on the phone yesterday with the guy, and we're going to try something new, maybe to revolutionize the whole movie industry, because that's another bullshit game. But anyway, okay, Larry, let's see, where the hell are we? Okay, the same guy, Robert Ragland. I marketed 3D with owners from Santa Anita, Del Mar. They loved it. Okay, Robert Ragland. I don't know where you live. This is the first time I saw you. But maybe I should. Well, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't know, but I don't see it. This is a whole new game for me. It's bad enough. It took me months before I could figure out the right material, and I said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to have the best blinkers made from an American company, dyed from an American company, inspected by an American company, put together by an American company, and it took me a while to get all of these, and I believe there's only one company, and that's the people that called me today from Apex. And they says that they sent me the samples. Here they are right here. They sent me 3 samples. Here they are right here. Different weights, material, and one of them is the right weight. And he's sending me 4 yards, and I'm going to make a bunch of prototypes and see which one I like the best. They're going to be very a little bit different in weight, and I'm going to see which one works the best. Because if I'm going to do it, I went this far, I might as well just do the best, so nobody can complain. And then when somebody like a Baffert calls and maybe wants to order 20, 30, or 100, I can answer. Where that's why I want to get them tested by a university. We lost Freddie.
He'll be back.
Freddie, there he is.
He'll be back.
So, I'm telling you, I'm doing the Houdinis.
I'm working on the blinkers. I'm putting together all the right machinery that I need for to make the blinkers and to make the holes and the sewing machines and where it's going to be, and who's going to do it. Just a lot of stuff. In the meantime, I just got today. I just today got the all the stuff for the patent. I got the patent number and everything. The attorney sent it over to me, so all of that is done. And I'm working on like three or four different things. So I'm very, very busy. I just wish I was. I'll tell you the truth. I'd give my right arm, maybe not my right arm, my left arm, if I could just be 60 years old again. But anyway, let's see here. Larry, it was announced yesterday that, okay, we already read that. Oh, I see. I went back. Here's the same guy. I sent you examples in the email. Okay. All right, Robert. I sent you. Okay. Rob, I think he must live in California. He says, I marketed 3D with owners from Santa Anita, Del Mar. They loved it. What business are you in, Robert? I mean, are you in the silk making business? I wonder what business. Robert, if you hear this and you're still on, what kind of business are you in? Okay, you guys want to talk about anything? No.
No. Listen, that horseman rep is the guy that instigated that whole situation. There's no doubt about it. And he's the guy they have to go after first.
Well, an incident like this took place at Roosevelt Raceway, like in 1957 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, what happened?
They refused to race the horses after the second race, and it was over the purse distribution. The horsemen wanted more money added to the purse. The guys who were suspended, one was Stanley Dancer, Quentin Hodgins, Huey Bell. I know Stanley was involved. They all got a 6-month suspension, and the director of the USTA, not the USTA, the Standardbred Owners Association, he got like all his horses got barred from racing for like a year, and he was the one that initiated. He went up there, and I have the articles, boys, and I just forget. It was like 1957 or 56, and it involved the New York Standardbred, SOA, basically halting the races. And after they did it after the second race, or the second race wouldn't go on the track, something like that. So it was very similar.
Interesting. But you were just a young kid then, or how old were you then?
I was about 4 years old then. So.
Yeah.
But I read the articles when we were doing the search for the history of doing the Roosevelt Raceway history for the book.
Right,
So.
right. I see. Yeah.
All right, this guy Ronald, whatever happened to the Billy O'Donnell video? Well, there's the guy right there, Freddie Hudson.
Oh, that.
When he moved, tell him about you.
No. There's some technical issues with the internet and a computer issue. It will be up this month, guaranteed. So it's 90% finished, but it will definitely be up. So.
Yeah, those things happen.
I didn't hear you, Trey.
Uncontrollable things happen like that are uncontrollable.
It's been a nightmare work. It's just been a total nightmare. The whole internet situation has just been a killer. I actually tried doing it from the library, but there are just so many people and going into the Adobe system and trying to work there. Everything would just lock up, and it was just a nightmare.
Larry, I wanted to ask you, have you heard, or is Louis Giganti still around? He had the restaurant up in Westchester.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure his son runs the restaurant now, the new one that they opened in Westchester. Yeah, he's still around.
Good, because I heard he had
Does he still have the limo company?
Oh, I don't know. He did have cancer a while back, and I think he had, and I think he beat that.
Good.
That was a while back. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a nice fella. I like him.
I'm looking for because this Robert Ragland says he sent me. I'll send you samples and email. Okay, I'll send you. I was looking for them. Okay, that means he didn't send them yet. I was looking for them in the email. Okay. All right, what else is here? Let's see. Years and years ago, the jockeys refused to ride at Penn National when it was found out the winning jockey had the wrong weight assigned and the winner disqualified days later. Oh boy. I'm not going to say too much because, look, no, I'm not going to say too much. I'm not going to say too much about weight, about click of scales. I'm not going to say too much, but you could be assured that when it says 114, in many cases, it's not 114. Anyway, what else you want to talk about? There's a lot of things people, not only in the horse business. We just happen to be talking about the horse business because that's what we're in. But I mean, in the grocery store, in the supermarket, and in every business, whether it be a barber shop or whatever, everybody's looking for an edge, and everybody, it's not always the way it looks, and that's why when somebody says, look, you're gonna have to jump out of a plane at 10,000 feet, and to do that, you can buy the parachute. They sell them across the street. One guy sells them the same parachute for $10, and the other store sells the same parachute folded by the same company for $100. So which one would you buy? I buy the one for $100. There's some right, and even if they're both equal, I'm just gonna. To me, you get what you pay for.
Larry, that sounds like the story where the owner's going out to buy a horse, and the trainer brings the horse out for him to look at, and he says, "Well, how much is that horse?" And this guy says, "Well, he's 30,000." He says, "Well, I don't want to. I'm looking for something a little bit more than that." So the trainer walks the horse back in, brings the same horse out, and he says, "Well, how much is this one?" 300,000, and he buys them.
Yeah, that's funny. That's cute. Yeah.
All right, what do you guys want to talk about? Anything? If not, I'm going to go to sleep.
Well, listen, Larry, I want you to send me I emailed you and you didn't even get back to me about that because maybe you didn't get me that email. You didn't get that email. I want a copy of that MP3 of the song I did for you and your buddy, nice guy. What's his name?
Oh, Juicy.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta ask. Anthony to do that. I don't know how to do that. I'll ask Anthony to do it. Yeah, he'll send it to you.
Yeah, please send that to me. I want to listen to it and maybe remaster it. I'll fix it up. I'll make it even better.
It can't be better than what it is. It's perfect. Don't fuck it up, Trey.
No, listen. I'm a professional like you. You know, I only do. I only do excellence in what I do in the recording industry.
Well, I don't know how you're going to make that one better, but I will get. I'll talk to Anthony tomorrow. Anthony just got a bill. Geez, I called Anthony. He says I can't come on Tuesday. He says his sister had a stroke, and now she can't. I asked him. I called him today. How was she? She can't even swallow no more. It really don't look good. So what a shame. And his brother Dominic, he was in a hospital. But I'll tell you at the age that we're at, it's just bad. Like every phone call is not good.
I know. Listen, I called Larry. I called Ralph Swalski the other day.
Oh, that's I want to get him on the show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now listen, he called me a couple of times, and then I called him back. I didn't have the right number, and finally we went back and forth. He left me the right number. I called him, and he goes, "I'm not doing good. I'm in the hospital." So what's the matter, Ralph? He goes, "I got AFib." He said, "But I'll be out tomorrow." Now that was the day before yesterday. Now I'm going to call him either tonight or tomorrow. I'll give him a call, and then I'll tell him you want to have him on the show. But
yeah, I want to get him on a show like on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday?
If it's Tuesday, if I could send him a link, and he's in Canada, right?
No. He lives up in Saratoga, I believe, or around the Saratoga area.
Tell him I want him on a show because I want to tell a story, and nobody's going to believe the story I tell him unless it's verified. So, and he's going to be the guy to verify because he was the race secretary. So do that. And if you don't do it, give me his number and I'll call him. But
all right, well, listen, of course I'll get you his number, but let me call him too. Let me call him tomorrow, and then I'll tell him I'm going to give. I mean, no problem. Right. He'll want to talk to you, I'm sure. He loves you, you know.
He's a good guy. But he's gonna remember this story because nothing like this, I guarantee, ever happened to him as a race secretary.
Ralph remembers everything.
Well, he'll remember this one.
There's not much he doesn't remember. I'll tell you that.
Very interesting story. So,
all right, good. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow because I gave him a couple of days because he had AFib. He said, "But I'm okay." He says, "But I'm going to be out tomorrow." This is 2 days ago. So I said, "I'm going to call you when you get out."
Yeah. In fact, Al Natoli called me 7:00 this morning. He woke up with AFib. He was all screwed up.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And he has that machine in him where he's not supposed to get it. But anyway, he got up, he ate something, he sat down, relaxed, and then the rhythm went back in place. Yeah, but that's
That's scary.
not fun. Yeah, Al got some kind of mechanism put in his heart, so that don't happen. But it happened this morning. He called me up, and then I went to pick him up this afternoon, make sure he was all right, and we went and had lunch, and he was fine.
Good. That's good.
But you know, when you reach this age, it's tough. All the bad news.
That's true.
It's tough, especially when you know, if you have a conscience and a good heart, and you know, you just feel so bad. I feel so bad for some of these people.
I know.
That, but what are you gonna do? That's life. It's just tough. Anyway, can we end this show now so I can go to bed?
Let's wrap it.
Okay.
I'm going to be up till about 5 o'clock working on music. So let's wrap it.
Okay. All right, Trey. Thanks for coming on, Freddie.
welcome.
Get your
All right.
internet hooked up. I hope Verizon shows up when they don't have a very good track record, but I hope they
No.
show up. And that's it. And I'll talk to you all in a couple of days. And that's it. So good night, folks. And we'll see you what's today? Thursday. So I'll see you all on Tuesday. And don't forget, next Thursday, all the heavyweights. Ron Pierce.
And Billy O'Donnell. Yeah.
Billy O'Donnell. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you, Larry. Bye-bye. Bye.